Hai, Assalamualaikum. So, ini video untuk kita terangkan on the examples of preparing journal for ijarah contract. So, example question ni ada dekat dalam kita punya slide. So, korang boleh tengok soalan ni dalam slides dekat dalam Google Classroom lah. So, untuk example ni macam the first step that you have to do is you have to read the questions and you kena catat what is the key point from the question ni. So, kita baca kat sini, the bank syariah Berhad entered into an ijarah contract with Takaful Berhad to lease equipment for a period of 3 days. So, macam saya cakap, bila baca satu ayat and then you kena tulis dia punya key point kan. So, macam ni, dia nak cakap, the bank syariah tadi dia making into a contract with Takaful Berhad. So meaning Takaful Berhad here is kita punya customer and the bank is the bank lah. So dia making the contract for a period of 3 years. So useful life of the contract tu is 3 years lah. Okay. Now, dia cakap Bank Syariah Berhad to purchase an equipment from a local trader on 1st January 2000 for RM60,000. So, now the bank ni purchase the equipment or the asset from local trading at the cost of RM60,000. Okay, so dalam masa yang sama, dia cakap the bank also incurred legal fees of RM500 relating to the ijarah contract which the bank considered to be material. So, dalam masa yang sama, which is on the 1st January 2000 tadi tu, Bank Syariah pergi beli equipment from the local trader at amounting of RM60,000 plus with dia punya legal fees which is RM500. So, now daripada ayat yang dekat atas ni kita dah keluarkan dia punya key point. And then dia pun bagi dalam soalan pun bagilah dia punya details information on this contract. Dia listkan fair values at the beginning is $60,000 and so forth. So from the information given in the question, you make it as a timeline lah. Korang kena prepare like a timeline. Bank Syariah bought the equipment from local trader it is started when on the 1st January lah kiranya 2000. Okay, so dalam 1st January ni dia incurred a cost of RM60,000 plus with RM500. This is the expenses. Saya buat macam tu. And then dia cakap tadi dekat dalam soalan, the fair value at the beginning of 2000 tahun 2000 ialah RM60,000. So kita dah put here RM60,000 at the beginning of tahun 2000. And then dia cakap at the end of the lease which is on 31st December 2002, dia punya nilai aset tadi dah tinggal RM2,000. So kita tulis lah at the end of the timeline here tinggal RM2,000 which is this one on 31st December 2002. So disebabkan useful life ni adalah 3 tahun, jadi korang kira lah daripada start dia beli which is on 1st January 2000, 3 tahun dia akhir bila? Bulan 2000, 2001, 2002. So dia akan end on 2002. So ini consider as 3 years punya period of the contract lah. And then 2002. And then dia cakap lagi dekat sini, number of installments on quarterly basis. Bukan 12, sepatutnya ini 3. Quarterly means 3 kan. So, every 3 month punya installment dia bayar sekali macam tu dia. So kiranya dia bayar installment every 3 month. And then dia bayar berapa, dia kata rentals at the end of each quarter tu dia bayar 6,000. So kiranya setiap 3 bulan dia bayar 6,000, 6,000 lah. And then dia cakap sini dia bagi lagi estimated useful life 3 years, which is we already wrote it here. And then dia punya estimated residuals value at the end of the useful life is 4,000 ringgit. Okay, so at the end of useful life is here lah, bulan yang terakhir, tahun yang terakhir. So tulis sini RM4,000 residuals value. Macam saya cakap, kita punya timeline here is 3 tahun punya timeline lah. So kita kena divide kan kita punya timeline ni according to the years. So macam ni, ini 2000 punya timeline, ini 2001, ini 2002. So korang akan nampak lagi lah. So dia cakap kat sini tadi, the installment akan di-paid every 3 days. So awak kira lah, not every 3 days, 3 months. So awak kira lah selepas bulan 1, 3 bulan is bulan 3 kan. 1, 2, 3 bulan 3, 31 hari bulan 3, 2000, dia bayar RM6,000. Dan ada lagi 3 months, dia bayar lagi 6,000, which is yang ini bulan 6, Jun. And then lagi dia bayar another 3 months, dia bayar lagi 6,000, which is this one is bulan September. And another 3 bulan, last sekali lah, which is on bulan 12, 6,000. Okay, sampai sini je lah. This is on 31st December 2000. Sebab ni dah masuk 2001 dekat kotak yang seterusnya ni. So, korang dah catat semua information dalam soalan in the timeline, kan? And then, you are required to prepare journal entries to record above ijarah contract in the book of Bank Syariah Berhad, assuming the lease was treated as Ijarah Muntahiyah bin Tamlik through sales for a token consideration, which being agreed to be equivalent to 50% of the estimated residuals value. So you are required to prepare ni lah journal at the beginning of Ijarah, when you receive the first rental, at the end of the first years, and at the end of Ijarah term. Before kita move any further, before kita prepare the first journal, which is at the beginning of Ijarah tu, kita kena tahu dulu dan kita kena identify lah this question and this leasing ni. This leasing ni is actually using ataupun under contract bitamlik, and kita ada token consideration juga, which is 50% of the residuals value. So kalau korang dah tengok my previous video, ada start on bitamlik contract. Bitamlik contract, which the first step to prepare journal ni, kita kena record the purchase of asset dulu, which is masa mula-mula kita beli the asset lah, which is time untuk soalan ni, dia punya permulaan kita beli the asset is on the 1st January 2000 ni tadi. So macam mana nak record the purchase of asset? Every time we purchase the asset, we get the asset account, which is we get lah the equipment. Untuk soalan ni, kita beli equipment, so equipment. So time ni, equipment kita, asset meningkat, and disebabkan kita beli the asset, so cash time ni akan berkurang. Kan? That is, the first step to prepare bitamlik punya contract lah, which is kita kena record the purchase of the asset. Okay, so kalau according to this question, dia suruh awak buat the journal at the beginning of Ijarah. So kalau journal at the beginning of Ijarah, which is at the time of when we bought the equipment, masa 1/1/2000 ni lah, which is kita kena record dua benda. Satu is 60,000 ni, satu lagi is the expenses. And then jomlah terus buat dia punya journal, which is at the Ijarah contract. First, kita kena record the purchase of the asset tadi. Okay, now kita buatlah, kalau time kita purchase the new asset, asset kita punya account meningkat. So according to the formula, kalau asset meningkat, kita kena debitkan dia. So debitkanlah equipment account, debit equipment account, kita kreditkan cash sebab kita keluarkan cash. Betul tak? Berapa? 60,000 lah. Okay. And then, disebabkan pada 1/1/2000 tu juga, kita make a contract with customer, which is takaful tadi tu. So, kita kena recognize this equipment as ijarah asset. Dan macam mana nak buat journal untuk recognize this ijarah asset? Masa kita recognize ijarah asset tu is like macam kita punya kontrak lah, dan itu adalah kita punya, kiranya dia punya ijarah asset account kita meningkat lah. And then equipment account kita, disebabkan kita dah recognize equipment account as ijarah asset, so equipment account kita menurun. So untuk kita record this effect, counting effect masuk dalam debit credit, kita follow the formula lah. Kalau ijarah asset, which is the asset meningkat, kita debitkan dia. So kita debitkan ijarah asset account. Here berapa? 60,000 lah. Sebab at the beginning of the ijarah tu juga, kita make itu contract with the takaful, with the customer tadi kan. Dalam soalan dah beritahu kan. Then credit apa? Credit equipment account lah, sebab equipment account is kita punya asset. So time ni asset equipment account kita berkurang. So according to formula, kalau asset berkurang, kita kreditkan dia. So credit here equipment account. Berapa? 60,000. Okay, dalam previous video tak ada pun journal, dan saya tak ajarlah journal on recognitions the asset to ijarah asset ni. So kat sini korang baru belajar kiranya, so korang kena tahu even though dalam bitamlik ni tak ada sales of asset, maksudnya the company, the bank tu tak dapat revenue from the sales of asset, tapi kita kena recognize the asset as dia punya ijarah ataupun ini contract asset lah, right? So kira dalam bitamlik ataupun dalam ordinary contract, ijarah contract, kita kena recognize dua benda at the beginning of the ijarah ataupun at the beginning of the contract, which is first one on the purchase of asset, the second one is on the recognitions of the contract here, ijarah contract. Now habis, dalam masa yang sama tadi dah cakap ini untuk at the beginning of ijarah kan. So kita dah record the purchase of asset. Kita tengok balik, purchase of asset at 60,000, dua-dua kali kita dah record, which is satu untuk to record the purchase of asset and to record the recognitions of ijarah asset. Now kita kena record RM500 ni, which is represent kita punya expenses of legal fees tadi. Sebab dia kita bayar dan dia adalah incurred at the beginning of the contract juga. So kita record lah 500 tu dalam journal. So untuk accounting effect for expenses 500 tu tadi, maksudnya dalam waktu 1 Januari tu kita bayar legal fees. So legal fees tu is kita punya expenses. Time ni expenses kita incur new expenses. Expenses kita meningkat, then kita nak bayar lah kan expenses tu. So kita bayar dengan cash. So time ni cash kita berkurang. So bila kita debit kreditkan dia, the thing yang kita debit and the thing yang kita kreditkan is according to the formula. Kalau expenses meningkat, formula and expenses meningkat, kita debitkan. So debit here, the legal fees, expenses. Tapi disebabkan ini adalah Islamic finance, so you have to write it here in Islamic terms lah. Macam according to the answer here, dia tulis initial Ijarah direct expenses account. Because dia dah cakap kat sini, dia recognize legal fees 500 tadi as the direct, this one, as the legal fees relating to the Ijarah contract which the bank consider to be material. So dia dah cakap kat sini lah, the legal fees tu is the material direct cost of the contract. So sebab tu dekat sini dia debitkan initial Ijarah direct expenses account. Initial, so saya tulis itu initial Ijarah direct expenses je lah. Kalau korang macam nak lebih detail, korang tulis lah itu apa benda, legal fees lah dalam kurungan. So dah settle record expenses meningkat debit ni. Now kita record the cash pula. Time ni cash kita berkurang, so kita kreditkan je lah. Kalau asset berkurang kita kreditkan kan. So kita kreditkan je lah cash account kita kat sini. Berapa kita bayar tadi? 500. So 500 lah. Then untuk record the first ataupun at the beginning of the contract. No, before that dia minta ni on receipt of the first rental. So awak kena tulis lah, record the first rental yang awak receive, which is on 31st March 2000 ni awak receive 6,000. So awak kena record 6,000 installment receive from the customer tadi. So macam mana nak record? Kita record here. Okay. On the first rental. So awak dapat rental awak 6,000 tadi kan. So bila awak receive a rental installment from the customer, so kita punya rental account akan meningkat, which is this is kita punya revenue meningkat, and kita receive cash lah time ni kan, sebab kita dapat duit from the customer daripada rental tadi tu. So kita asset kita pun meningkat. So daripada accounting effect here, you refer to our formula. So apa yang kena di debit and di kreditkan? Of course first is asset lah, which is the cash here. Kalau asset meningkat, kita debitkan. So tulis kat sini debit cash. Kredit apa? Kredit kita punya rental account. Sebab kalau according to the formula, revenue meningkat, kita kreditkan dia. So kita kreditkan kita punya rental account. Tapi ini kalau macam kita conventional accounting punya transaction, kita record macam ni. Tapi kalau kita nak apply to Islamic finance term, kita tengok kat sini, kat tepi ni kan, debit Ijarah receivable if the customer paid the rental by macam on credit lah kiranya, bukan on cash. So awak kena debitkan Ijarah receivable. So here sebenarnya Ijarah receivable is debit, is actually kita punya, ini kalau dia punya customer paid in cash. So awak punya accounting effect like this. Kalau dia paid on credit, means awak punya time tu awak punya trade receivable, which is the customer, ataupun ijarah receivable, aset kita meningkat juga time itu, dan kita punya revenue still rental lah, revenue tu still meningkat juga, kan? So itu perbezaan antara cash receive and on credit receive. Sebab tu dekat sini ada dua, ada sini debit ijarah receivable, ataupun itu kalau dia kata on credit, ataupun cash account kalau dia pay in cash, means kita dapat cash from the customer amounting 6,000 ringgit, sebab every on the first rental receive is kita receive 6,000 kan, so 6,000 lah. And then kita creditkan ijarah revenue, sebab time tu kiranya kita kena record ijarah revenue, sebab revenue meningkat kan. Kalau revenue meningkat, kita kreditkan dia. That's why kita kreditkan ijarah revenue 6,000, which is this revenue also will be posted to soci kita kat sini, ijarah. Now dia suruh buat pula at the end of the first year, means kalau korang tengok dia timeline, at the end of the first year tu is dekat sini, at the end of the first year. 2000 ni kan is kita punya first year kan. So at the end of 2000 ni is at 31st December 2000, which is here. So dekat 31st December 2000 ni, awak tengoklah apa yang awak dah catat tadi, which is awak ada buat, awak receive an installment from the customer, a total of 6,000 kat sini. So awak kena record jumlah 6,000 ni tadilah dekat sini. And then awak record lah. Dalam masa yang sama, kita tengok lagi apa yang ada dekat at the end of the first year. Now kita kena record juga amount depreciation kita. Macam saya cakap, every end of the year the asset have to be depreciate. So kita kena calculate lah the amount of depreciation kita. Macam mana kita nak calculate amount depreciation kita ni? Kita ambil this one number first kan. So kita nak calculate dia punya depreciation amount. Kita ambil amount cost of the equipment minus with residual value, then you have to divide with kita punya useful life. So kalau macam ni, cost of that equipment tadi 60,000 tolak dengan residual value kita, which is here. Here 4,000, you divide dengan 3 years kita tadi. So bila you dah buat calculation semua, minus 4,000 divide 3 years, you akan dapat amount dia RM18,666. So that's why dekat sini you kena debitkan soci you kena debitkan soci, sebab depreciation ni nanti kita kena masukkan dalam soci kan. So that's why kita debitkan soci and creditkan amount accumulated depreciation kita 18,666 tadi. So depreciation kan kita punya like depreciation lah. So this is how you actually record depreciation amount punya journal entry. Dan kita tak boleh lupa juga kita punya expenses which is on legal fees tadi. In Islamic finance, kita kena amortize kita punya direct expenses, which is yang tadi legal fees tu lah, RM500 tu. So at the end of accounting period, setiap tahun lah, dia kena record depreciation amount, dia kena record amortization punya amount. Macam mana nak kira amortization punya amount dan macam mana nak dapat 167 ni? Kita ambil nilai expenses kita tadi, which is 500, you terus dividekan dengan kita punya useful life, which is 3 years tadi, kita akan dapat 167. So amount amortization ni ataupun amortization ni is fixed every end year. Meaning nanti untuk 2001 and 2002 akhir tahun, you kena record juga dua amount ni lah, dua amount amortization ni and depreciation ni. Right? So settle on amortization. Now kita kena, sebab dia kata that one on the first kan, the first on the first rental, which is tadi dah settle, lepas tu kita dah record on at the end of the first year, kita record the depreciation and also dia punya amortization, and also this one, the first rental juga, sebab at the end of 31st December, kita still dapat dia punya rental fees. So sama je lah dia punya recording process dengan the first rental tadi tu. So the first rental and at the end of the first year punya record rental receipt is like this. Cuma kena tambah depreciation and amortization for the end of the first year punya journal lah. Now dia suruh awak buat at the end of ijarah term pula. Sama, at the end of ijarah term, kalau korang tengok dia punya timeline, korang kena, ijarah term is this one, 31st December 2002 ni, which is korang time ni kena bayar juga 6,000 sebab dia last kan. So 6,000 awak kena bayar, and then awak kena record dia punya amount akhir ni, and juga awak kena record dia punya amount residual value. So anything yang at the end of the contract terms tu punya transaction, you have to masukkan dalam journal lah. That's why I ask you to prepare timeline awal-awal so that you guys can see dalam timeline tu which one yang belum record lagi. So kalau kita tengok dia punya journal, so saya cakap first mesti kita record the receipt of the rental income, which sama je dia punya cara dengan receive of the first payment tadi, sebab akhir tahun ataupun akhir accounting contract terms tu mestilah kita receive last rental amount first, and then baru kita ada dapat dia punya amount of the residuals ataupun the fair value of the asset at the end of the contract term. Then kita kena record, sebab dia at the end of the year, kita kena record depreciation juga, and kita kena record amortization. Then kita kena tambah, sebab dia dah habis kontrak, kita kena tambah this one, which is kita kena record on the token consideration just now. Consideration, which is this one on the ration. This one on the transfer of asset punya journal. Kan kalau korang tengok my previous video, ada 3 option kan. The bank can transfer the asset to the customer. So dalam soalan ni dia guna option yang kedua, which is on token consideration tu. So dia bagi token consideration tu is 50% of residual value, which is nanti meaning the customer tu akan pay 50% of cash to the bank. So macam mana? Dia punya debit and credit is like this lah. Sebabkan kita dapat duit of token consideration from the customer, so kita debit cash. Debit cash berapa? Kita kira daripada sini. Dekat soalan dia beritahu the token consideration tu is represent 50% of residual value. So 50% darab dengan residual value kita is RM 4,000. So you akan dapat RM 2,000. So ini adalah amount yang kita dapat, cash yang kita receive from the customer. That's why kita debit cash, the debit cash here 2,000, and then kita kena debit juga another 2,000 dalam soci sebab kita punya residual value is 4,000, so kita ada lebih another 2,000 sebab customer baru bayar 2,000 kan. So kita ada lebih 2,000, so 2,000 ni kita akan simpan and kita proceed to kita punya soci. And kita creditkan the residual value 4,000 here sebab kita dah at the end of the contract dah. So asset tu dah macam kita nak transfer to the customer lah. Kita dah no longer own the asset. That's why kita creditkan asset dekat sini 4,000. So that's all for the example question. I want you to actually buat soalan on the past year's question. Nanti saya bagi dia punya soalan and you guys can refer to this video while actually answering the question. Thank you.